My name is Claire, and I am 28 years old today. Last week, an email appeared on my phone with the subject line, Loan Confirmation. I opened it casually at first, but then froze when I saw the details. My full name, my address, even my signature were printed on the agreement. But I had never signed anything. Not once. Not for this enormous debt. An $80,000 loan, tied to my credit, filed for my sister's program. My chest tightened and my hands shook as the words blurred on the screen. I called my mother immediately, demanding answers, but she sounded calm and dismissive. "Don't be dramatic, Claire. We just used your name. Family makes sacrifices." And in that moment, I realized my future had been stolen on paper. Growing up, the message was always the same in our house. Claire is strong. Claire can manage. Claire will figure it out alone. Meanwhile, my sister Emily was the fragile one, the golden child. If Emily cried, the world stopped. If I cried, they told me hush. When I was 12, I won a spot in a summer science camp. Mom shook her head. "Emily needs the confidence boost more than you." So the money saved for me suddenly became her horseback riding lessons. At 15, I practiced piano until my fingers ached every night. The recital came, but Dad said, "Emily has her gymnastics showcase." My performance slipped off the calendar, erased as if it never mattered. At 17, I got a part-time job to start saving for college. Every paycheck I tucked away carefully, dreaming of independence someday soon. But when Emily wanted a used car for her 16th birthday, guess what? My savings disappeared into the down payment while I biked to work. They said, "You'll have plenty of chances, Claire. Don't be dramatic." The pattern was constant. Her needs were urgent, mine always negotiable or delayed. It wasn't just money. It was birthdays forgotten, victories ignored, milestones skipped. On my 18th birthday, the cake never came. The candles never lit. Mom and Dad were out buying Emily a new dress for prom. I sat alone with a store-bought cupcake, whispering my own wishes. When I brought home an art award, Dad barely glanced. Emily's tired today. I learned to celebrate alone, lighting my own candles, clapping for myself. By the time Stanford came, I should have known what to expect. In their eyes, my achievements were family assets, ready to be reassigned. And deep down, I began to wonder if I even mattered at all. College should have been freedom, but it carried the same silent weight. While my classmates called home for encouragement, I kept my achievements quiet. Every A on my transcript, every internship offer, I celebrated in silence. When I mentioned graduate school, Mom frowned. "Emily needs stability, not you." She suggested I live at home, work full-time, support Emily's tuition instead. Dad added, "It's temporary. She's delicate. You can handle the extra burden." I nodded, biting my tongue, though the bitterness sat heavy in my chest. So I worked 2 jobs, sent money home, while Emily switched majors twice. She posted photos of shopping trips, road trips, new gadgets bought with family help. Meanwhile, I skipped meals, choosing textbooks over dinner, never letting them see me break. One winter break, I came home to find my mail already opened. Financial documents spread across the table, Mom's handwriting scribbled on application forms. When I asked, she said, "We only used your name for verification." But the loan application wasn't for me. It was Emily's summer abroad program. My name, my credit score signed under her dream without a word. The paper trembled in my hands, but my parents were unmoved. "Don't overreact," Dad said. "This is family business. You'll understand in time." That night, I sat awake in my childhood room staring at the ceiling. I had sworn never to let them hollow me out, yet here I was. The walls around me still carried posters I once pinned with hope. Now they felt like bars of a cage I thought I'd escaped. Still, I endured, telling myself that patience would eventually buy me freedom. I built a careful budget, saved every spare dollar, while Emily lived lavishly. She failed classes, withdrew from programs, but the spotlight always circled back to her. When she crashed her car after a party, Mom called me in tears. "Emily's shaken. We'll need you to cover the repairs. She can't handle debt." I wanted to scream. Instead, I transferred the money, then sat in silence. The anger simmered beneath my skin, growing hotter with every dismissed sacrifice. I should have realized by then, they were never going to stop asking. Because the truth was, my patience had only trained them to take more. The breaking point came one Tuesday evening, when an email pinged my phone. I expected work updates, but the subject line froze me. Loan confirmation. I clicked, my pulse thundering, and saw my name on the agreement. A student loan for nearly $80,000, attached to Emily's enrollment file. The pit in my stomach turned cold as I scrolled through each page. My address, my social security number, my digital signature I had never given. The world tilted. My breaths came shallow, like air was suddenly rationed. I called Mom instantly, voice shaking. "What is this? Why is my name here?" She sighed, casual, as though I had interrupted her evening tea. "Don't be dramatic, Claire. We signed it for Emily. It secures her program." Her words pierced me. She had admitted it without hesitation, like it was normal. I whispered, "You forged me." The silence on the line confirmed everything. Then Dad spoke, calm and dismissive. "It's family debt. We'll all benefit eventually." My legs buckled. I sat on the floor, laptop glowing with betrayal. Images of my sacrifices flashed. Science camp, piano recitals, birthdays alone, savings stolen. Now my entire future was shackled to a loan I never agreed to. I pressed my palms against the hardwood, desperate to anchor myself to reality. The walls seemed to lean closer, like even this apartment had turned against me. That night, I didn't sleep. I gathered bank statements, transcripts, every shred of proof. My hands trembled as I printed the forged documents, spreading them across the table. Every detail screamed violation. Every line confirmed what I had refused to believe. By morning, anger steadied me where grief had broken me. I wasn't just invisible anymore. I had been exploited, erased, rewritten against my will. For years, I had told myself endurance was strength, that patience meant survival. But staring at my stolen signature, I realized endurance had become surrender. The family I worked to support had quietly written me out of my own story. And in that moment, memories resurfaced. Mom signing my permission slip without asking. Dad opening my first paycheck envelope, calling it family funds. Emily smiling when she received gifts I had earned but never opened. It wasn't new. It was the same theft, only now magnified beyond repair. And for the first time, the fear of losing them shrank beside the fear of losing myself. And with that realization, something inside me snapped, ready to fight back. I didn't wait long before confronting them. Proof stacked neatly in my bag. When I walked into the family living room, the air felt heavy. Mom sat straight-backed, arms folded. Dad leaned forward, jaw tight with irritation. Emily sprawled on the couch, scrolling her phone, pretending nothing concerned her. I dropped the papers onto the coffee table. "Explain this," I said firmly. Mom's eyes flicked across the documents, then back to me, calm and cool. "Claire, don't dramatize. It's family paperwork. You'll thank us when Emily succeeds." I stabbed my finger against the forged signature. "That is not family paperwork." Emily smirked. "You're overreacting. It's just money. We'll all benefit eventually." Heat rose in my chest. Benefit? While my credit drowns and my future collapses? Dad slammed his fist against the table. "We raised you! You owe us loyalty!" I stood taller, voice shaking but steady. "Loyalty isn't slavery. Family isn't theft." Mom's rehearsed tears spilled, glistening in the lamplight. "After all we've sacrificed." I cut her off. "Sacrificed? You stole birthdays, tuition, savings, now you forge my life." The room went silent. Emily lowered her phone, finally sensing the shift in power. "You think you're better than us?" Dad hissed. "Without us, you'd be nothing." I lifted the folder high, each page a weapon they couldn't deny. "These documents say otherwise. And if you push me further, so will the law." Mom's face blanched, her performance cracking. Dad's fists clenched, but he didn't move. For once, Emily's smirk faltered. She tucked her phone away, avoiding my stare. I turned to her directly. "You've taken enough from me, Emily. No more." Her mouth opened, but no sound came. The silence was louder than words. "You've lived off my savings, my chances, even my name on a loan. But this time, you don't get to inherit my future like another hand-me-down." Her cheeks flushed red. For the first time, she looked like the child they protected. I realized then, truth had more weight than their years of manipulation combined. I gathered the papers, slid them back into my bag, shoulders squared. "This ends tonight," I said. "No more signatures, no more debts, no more control." I turned toward the door, my pulse racing with a fire I hadn't felt before. Behind me, Mom whispered, almost pleading, "If you walk away, you end this family." I paused, hand on the doorknob, my reflection catching in the glass frame nearby. And I finally saw someone standing tall, no longer bent beneath their weight. The fear of being alone no longer terrified me. It finally felt like freedom. Because for the first time, I understood. Ending their control was saving myself. The days after the confrontation felt strangely quiet, almost like new air. No late-night calls demanding money, no sudden emergencies landing on my lap. For the first time in years, my phone stayed silent. and I exhaled. News traveled quickly through relatives. Some called me selfish. Others whispered I was brave. But the loudest silence came from my parents and Emily, cut off. At first it stung, like losing a limb I'd never learned to live without. Then the ache dulled, replaced by a freedom I hadn't thought possible. I poured energy into my own work, finishing projects I once delayed. I decorated my small apartment, frame by frame, with milestones no one stole. The diploma on the wall no longer looked like wasted effort. It looked earned. When paychecks came, I deposited them without fear someone else had plans for them. Friends began noticing the difference. My laugh fuller, my shoulders finally relaxed. One evening, Noel, my closest friend, raised a glass over dinner. To Claire, she said, who finally chose herself over chains called family duty. I smiled, and this time I didn't shrink from the praise. I claimed it. Weeks turned into months. I heard Emily dropped out of her program again. Mom had tried to call distant relatives for help, but doors closed quietly. It wasn't revenge I felt, it was clarity. Their choices were theirs to bear. My choice was mine. And mine was to stop bleeding for people with knives. On my birthday, I bought a cake, lit candles, and whispered wishes aloud. Not wishes for escape, but wishes for building, for thriving, for belonging to myself. As I blew out the flames, I realized the wish was already real. Because this time, no one took it away. No one claimed it as theirs. This was my life. Finally mine, and I intended to keep it that way. Sometimes saying no isn't cruelty. It's the first real act of love. And if this story touched your heart, please give it a like. And share it with someone who needs to hear this today. Don't forget to subscribe for more true family betrayal stories that remind us we are stronger than we think.